Spencer, you had a wild vision of creating a documentary about surfing uncharted waves off the coast of Russia. You risked everything for this vision. What were you really chasing out there?
Oh, that is a good question. We kind of schemed the perfect plan of how to make this as epic as we could, and I reckon we probably captured 25% of what we had in mind.
Holy crap!
Just film everything. Film through the highs and film through the lows and film when you shouldn't be filming. We were shooting on $50,000 red cameras, and then some of the most impactful scenes in the whole movie are shot on a phone or on a GoPro.
You planned this trip for 2 years, and of all moments, you've timed it right down to that particular event.
We'll go down in history as like the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, and it was the same day that we started our project. So it wasn't planned, and it's so unfortunate that it happened, but still it was all about the adventure and friendship, and kind of swung it to a bit more feel good. I felt the whole time we were compressing and compressing and compressing. Like, if I probably had it my way, it would have been like a 3 or 4 hour movie, because I didn't want to cut anything. Planning and preparation is so key, but most of it's not going to go to plan, and that's totally fine.
And if you could go back in time and kind of revisit this, would you have changed anything?
Far out. Yeah, I think.
This episode is brought to you by Wix Studio. Here at the Agency Podcast, we're building a community, and we would love for you guys to be a part of it. So we would love to hear from you. What are you enjoying the most? What would you like to see more of? And what do you think might be missing? Drop a comment, make sure you subscribe, and now on with the show. So Spencer, you had a wild vision of creating a documentary about surfing uncharted waves off the coast of Russia. And it was so remote that you had to access it by helicopter. From a frozen camp with a frozen bank account during a global conflict between Russia and Ukraine, you decided that you were going to risk it all to attempt to build this documentary. Because of this, you won over 30 awards around the globe, raised hundreds of thousands in sponsorship, and streamed on places like Netflix, Apple TV, and Amazon. You risked everything for this vision. What were you really chasing out there?
Oh, that is a good question. Wow, what a loaded first question. What was I chasing out there? I think definitely from just a pretty basic perspective, just chasing waves and chasing surf. We've all grown up, all the 4 boys that went on the trip, we've grown up together surfing, and I don't know, it's every surfer's dream to find a wave that had never been surfed and never been found. And but the core of it, we just wanted to go surfing. It's just a surf trip. But then I don't know, if you want to get a bit more philosophical or a bit more deep, I don't know, we're chasing our passions, chasing just pushing ourselves and seeing what we're capable of. Like, I don't know, just four guys from Sydney trying to do something bigger than anything anyone had ever done before, like bigger than anything that any of us had done before. But yeah, I think just trying to find a new wave, trying to find new experiences. Everything on that trip was a new experiences for us. Like, growing up in Sydney, we'd barely gone to the snow, and then that whole trip we're in the snow the whole time, flying in helicopters, seeing volcanoes, like all of these new experiences. So yeah, what we were chasing, I think just, experiences, waves, friendship, bit of everything. Great first question.
And it's such a cinematic documentary. And when you thought of the idea for this trip, like, where did that come from? How did you come up with the idea of, let's go to Russia of all places, and then let's try to get out to these remote places that people have never surfed?
Yeah, so in 2019, we actually went on our first trip to make a kind of feature-length surf film. We went to Iceland, Scotland, and Ireland, which the film was called A Corner of the Earth, and we basically made a surf trip there. And that was like no funding, no budgets, just 3 mates going on a surf trip, trying to see what we could find. We decided to go to Iceland in January, which is middle of winter, 4 hours of daylight, same kind of, just wild, raw coastline. We had northern lights, we had snow on the beach. Basically everything you wouldn't think of when you thought of a surf trip. We made a film, A Corner of the Earth, that I mentioned. It had a lot of international success, toured all over, a bunch of film festivals. It got a big distribution deal. So yeah, basically off the back of that, we decided that was cool. We did that kind of just on our own, no funding, no brands, no sponsors. How can we elevate that to make something bigger? So basically, yeah, we just kind of put our heads together and said, where else on the planet can we go and surf and do a surf project and make a surf film where basically no one had done before, no one had been before. We really wanted to try and be the pioneers of something new and try and just not repeat something that had been done before. So yeah, a few different locations came up, like Arctic Norway was one of them, but a few people had done projects there in the past. Alaska was another one where people had surfed there, but there's kind of more potential. And then, yeah, we basically found some photos online that Kamchatka, Russia, this coastline on the east coast of Russia had good surf. So yeah, basically went on this just deep dive of Google, documentaries, YouTube, everything that we could find of Kamchatka and the coastline. We saw some footage of people surfing there in summer, but there's basically no swells on that coastline in summer. But then once we kind of did a bit of research, we saw that there was these huge winter swells that were hitting that coastline and offshore winds, so winds coming off the mountains and making the ocean smooth. We could see that from kind of weather charts and doing a bit of planning and yeah, we just basically saw on paper that coastline was going to have amazing waves all through winter. We actually contacted a guy called Anton. He's since become a really good friend of ours, but
He was the pilot, right?
he was the surfer.
Oh, so Anton was a
Anton's
surfer,
a surfer.
and then you also DM'd the pilot.
Yeah, a guy called Max. So first guy, yeah, back when we were planning and researching, we were just watching every film that we could find that was made in Kamchatka. There's a professional snowboarder called Travis Rice who made a film in Kamchatka about snowboarding. And in his film, we saw like a one little scene of a glimpse of a wave in his snowboard project.
Yeah.
And that kind of sparked like a whole huge bunch of inspiration, just kind of like, holy crap, there's waves there in winter. They're going to snowboard, but we saw like a kind of perfect 4-foot left-hander in the background of one of his shots. So that that gave us so much hope that there actually is swell up there.
So you were thinking about this like before you'd seen this and this had validated your idea? Like what exactly happened?
That was part of the research. It was watch that film because it was filmed in Kamchatka.
Oh, so you had the idea,
Yeah.
then you were checking out this film of a snowboarder because you're like,
Snowboarder
let's
film.
try and suss out the area and
Yeah.
what it's like. And then you just see like a glimpse
Yeah.
of like, there is a wave.
We saw a glimpse and that was just like, holy crap, there's good waves up there and then that coast. So yeah, basically I went and I wrote like an intro message and said, my name's Spencer Frost. I'm a
And
filmmaker.
this is to Anton on Instagram?
This is just a generic message.
Yeah.
And I just said, yeah, my name's Spencer Frost. I'm a filmer from Australia. We would like to come to Kamchatka to make a surf film. Is there anyone up there that can help us? Please get back to me. And I got a Russian friend of mine to translate that. And I basically just went on Instagram and messaged anybody that I could find that lived in Kamchatka, that had, that had tagged Kamchatka, just kind of messaged everybody. And then one of the main people that got back to me was a guy called Anton.
Who's in the film?
Yeah, he's like the local surfer up there. He's made a little surf camp. He's like such a classic character. And he basically said, we have amazing waves. No one has come up here to do a surf project in winter. If you guys can get up here, I will be your kind of guide, translator, on the ground helper. So yeah, having him on board was amazing from like the surf element and like showing us where a few waves were. And then another guy who messaged me, his name was Max, and he had a heliboarding operation up there. He had a snow lodge, and he said, if you guys can get up here, same thing. You can stay at my lodge and I will help you with the helicopters to access the coastline and snowmobiles, guides, everything else. So
this is crazy, man, because
it's crazy.
This is like cold DMing some locals like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm coming from Australia. How do we make this work? But it seems like they were pretty accommodating and happy to help.
It was nuts. Yeah. It really, like when it kind of just snowballed and like we were getting wins every day. It was like, oh no, we can't get a visa. And then someone was like, oh, no, you can get a visa. This is how you'll get it. And then then we got the helicopters, then we got the lodge. Like it was like the universe just saying like, you guys really should do this trip. Because there was also a lot of times where we would run into roadblocks or stuff would get hard, or stuff would be too much money and we'd be like, oh, maybe we just have to pull the pin. But then we'd get all these wins and it really felt, I'm not like too spiritual, but it like stuff like that. And on the trip as well, there was just moments where stuff would just weirdly go our way and keep pointing us in the right direction. And yeah, felt like they wanted us to do this trip.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely seems like there was moments in the film where you can tell you and the team were getting pretty emotional and pretty welled up around this whole experience. Cause like there's a scene where you guys are flying across these volcanoes towards a coastline. And it's quite moving because you're out in the middle of like a very foreign place. And it seems like almost like you're on the edge of the world where there's no civilization around and it's just you guys and nature and a pile of waves.
Yeah.
It's pretty moving. I think when you think about the grand scheme of, film and what people have accomplished in this space of surfing, this did feel like invigorating and new. It was almost like, oh, there's hope that there's more opportunity for us to go out there and find new and cool things to do when it comes to searching for uncharted waves. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
No, I enjoyed it, man. I think I was just like glued to the screen. I was like, this is crazy, man. You pulled together a pretty remarkable trip. I want to talk a little bit about the tactics and the strategy behind this, because I think putting a trip like this together is quite different from the first documentary, which you guys said, which wasn't funded. Going from like a zero budget surf film to one where you're raising hundreds of thousands of dollars to, I guess, hire and put fuel in helicopters and to get, local support. What mental switch did you had to flip for yourself to get prepared for this type of trip versus the first one?
Yeah, I think the mental switch was definitely like, how far can we push this and how big can we go? For sure, because we wanted to do such a bigger project, and yeah, like you said, it was a lot more money and a lot more expensive and a lot more work, a lot more focus, a lot more time away from our partners, and yeah, lots of different things. So I think we just had to, just be mentally prepared. Like, this is going to be huge and it's going to be so good, but also pretty taxing on our lives. But yeah, I think we just shot for the moon. We're just like, let's just go as big as we can. Let's put together our director's treatment, which is like a pitch document. And we just started approaching brands and basically said, we have this absolutely radical idea. No one's done it. We don't actually know if we're going to get good waves, but we're going to go give it a try. And do you want to support us? And then basically some brands said, no chance. Thanks for coming.
Why were they saying no chance?
Just because of how, well, at the time we didn't really have much of a rep. Like I probably wouldn't have given me money looking back at it. We had our first film, but it's pretty minor compared to the second one. We were just asking for them to fund our dream, basically. We were promising a lot. Like, we were promising we were going to get waves and this awesome project. But yeah, I think a lot of brands did see the value in it. And like, we're so thankful that they did support the project, because it wouldn't have been possible without everyone that helped. But yeah, there was definitely a few meetings we had, or a few brands that we caught up with and pitched it to, and they just kind of just said, no chance. I'm sorry. Like, we're not going to pay whatever this money is for you guys to just go and fly around in helicopters and hope that there's waves. But I don't know. I think that's the part of doing something new and exciting now. You have to have a bit of risk, and you have to have a lot of risk, I guess. Like, if it was a sure thing and it was safe and we're definitely going to get waves and it's definitely going to be a success, like, I think everyone would probably be doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to take a punt, have some risks, and just go for it.
There's a moment where like you guys are essentially parking not a small helicopter, by the way. I don't know what this thing is, like an M18 or something like that.
Big,
These ex like Soviet Union helicopters, and you've got one of these guys parked on the beach, and then you're sitting there looking out at the ocean. I want to understand this, because I think when you're putting something like this together, like you said, a director's treatment, what exactly is that, and how is that different from a pitch? Because I understand a pitch is kind of like, this is what you're buying, this is what you get, but a director's treatment's a little different. Do you mind just fully unpacking that and exactly what that is?
Yeah. So in kind of commercial world, documentary world, when you're trying to get funding and trying to convince brands about a project you put together. You call it a director's treatment. You'd probably call it a pitch document as well, but it's basically a one-stop shop with the idea, like the concept, who is pulling it off and why you should trust them about pulling it off. So I would be selling myself and just saying I've worked for X, Y, and Z brands. I've traveled all over the world. You can trust me to pull off your project or commercial or documentary. Then it's basically where you're going, like what you're doing, the plan. Then it's usually a distribution strategy, where the film's going to go, theatrical tour. Then it's going to be trying to sell to streamers, and then, X, Y, and Z for the distribution. And then, it's basically just a bunch of reference images, a bunch of reference videos if you wanted to kind of sell it on that. And then to finish it off, you'd usually have a budget and how much it's going to cost. And then you would also have, the way that we've done it is like a tiered system. So tier A is the lead sponsor, and they would get logos on everything. They're kind of the presenting sponsor. They get all these custom assets. Tier B would be a little bit less money for them to invest, and they would get supporting sponsor, still logos, a bunch of photos, bunch of content. And then tier C is kind of the last tier, which is like a bit less money. And it's kind of just for them to be involved, and not so big as tier A and tier C. So we like to give people the option. I think it's good to just say, this is how much the whole project's going to cost. But if you want to be involved, you can put in 20% or 5%, 10%. It's basically just a one-stop shop for anyone who potentially wants to invest or support it, can see every single detail about the project, and then they can make a internal call with their team or whoever they need to if it's right for them.
Yeah, exactly. And what was the reaction or the feedback from the sponsors after you guys had come back and won all these awards and, got this documentary out there and these streaming platforms? Like, what was the outcome? What happened after that?
Yeah, I think it was, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that the sponsors were all so pumped on what we did, especially the sponsors that were umming and ahhing, and they might have put in like 10 grand. It sounds like a lot of money, but for the project, it wasn't too much money. But like, they were so pumped on how big this project went, and how, because they were still involved and their logos were all over it, and it went worldwide and had all this success. So they were so excited. Even the tier A sponsor, which is a wetsuit company called Project Blank, it was a huge investment for them to put in the money. We're so thankful that they jumped on board. It was massive for them, but I think they were like so stoked with it. And bunch of wetsuits, bunch of street cred. They kind of got their name out all over the world. Everyone was wrapped.
Clients want it all. A slick-looking website that can run their business and scale with their success. Wix Studio is built for that. Plan out your client's whole site in seconds with AI-powered site mapping and wireframing. Then when everyone's on the same page, jump into the creative, starting off in Figma or in the Wix Studio editor with super precise layouting tools like Grid, Stack, and Flexbox. Go above and beyond the brief with no-code animations, custom CSS, and built-in business solutions. And make your whole vision responsive in a click. And there's zero need to break a sweat when clients grow fast. A dynamic CMS with global design settings and reusable assets lets you turn one page into hundreds. Design smoother and deliver sooner. Go to wixstudio.com. What doors did this open for you? So like, having delivered this effectively for your sponsors, has that created leverage for you to do other projects?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like directly or indirectly, but for sure all of our kind of profiles have been boosted quite a lot, just because the film toured all over the world and we went to so many different shows, and then it had streaming deals, and kind of a lot of people got to see our work and then see us, and like our social platforms built a lot. But then also I was getting approached a lot for work, and then I'd be on like a commercial in Sydney, and I would just say, "Oh, how did you find me?" And they said, "Oh, we saw your film." So there was a lot of that, and I've still had that like recently where I've just been like, oh, how did you guys get in contact with me? And they said, oh, we saw your film at the Ocean Film Festival a few years ago and we thought it was amazing. So we thought we'd get in contact. So yeah, I don't know if some of it's indirect, some of it's direct, but I think it's definitely helped all of our kind of professional profiles and now just our professional, just us working in the world. I do a lot of commercials and Guy, the photographer and co-director is, commercial photographer and he's just been crazy busy since the project. He's bouncing all over the world, taking photos. I've been pretty busy myself. So yeah, it's going good for us.
Now, it wasn't always smooth sailing. It wasn't always, I guess, so glamorous at the start of the film. There's quite a few challenges that come your way.
Yeah.
Take me into some of the challenges and obstacles you faced early on. So you had this epic director's vision of like what we're going to build. You're like haphazardly kind of reaching out to random sponsors, or was there a plan behind that? Like, what were some of the challenges between you and getting sponsorship, funding it, and making this all possible?
Yeah. So, there was a lot of challenges early on. I think obviously just not really having much info about the place, which was super challenging. The language barrier was massive as well. Not many English speaking people in Kamchatka. Thankfully, Anton and Max, who were our two main connections, spoke English, but a lot of other people didn't. It was kind of the tail end of COVID, which basically any tourists were totally shut out of Russia at the time. We didn't know this, and we kind of went in to apply for a tourist visa, and they basically just said no tourists are allowed to come to Russia because it was still kind of recovering from COVID. So then we went to Helly Hansen, which is like an outerwear company who was sponsoring us, and they said they might be able to get us a business visa because they have a division in Russia. And we went down that road and tried to get a business visa, and they basically just said no foreigners are allowed to come in under a business visa. So that was kind of a huge challenge because it was kind of two big no's back to back. And you need a visa to travel to a foreign country, especially Russia. You want everything pretty sorted. So we kind of went back to Max and we just said, look, we can't get a visa. We probably can't do this project. And then he came back and said, hey, we've got this sporting event that's happening in Kamchatka and we're going to pretend that you guys are international media and you're going to come and film. It's like a kind of ski touring event. And he's like, I can talk to the government, our friends at the government, and say that you guys are going to come as our guests and film this ski touring event, and I'll be able to get you guys a humanitarian visa. And it was kind of, we were like, far out. It's not really the place you want to be like just doing dodgy shit basically. But we just kind of said, is this gnarly? And he's like, no, it's fine. As long as you have the visa, it's all good. Like, we'll sort it. And then he basically went to his friends at the government. He said, we've got these Australian friends that are going to come and just experience Kamchatka and document this sporting event, which was like kind of half true. We were going to come and experience Kamchatka, and they basically gave him like a official Russian government invitation to the four of us, and it had our names and everything. And yeah, that was our little ticket in to do the project.
It's so weird to think about that. Like, you needed so many things to line up to make this trip possible.
So many. Yeah.
And then how did you go getting the rest of the sponsors? Were you just kind of like cold calling and like cold outreaching to surf brands? Yeah,
so a lot of them were surf brands. The two surfers who came on the trip were sponsored surfers. So Rusty and Misfit were their two kind of main sponsors. So they were kind of no-brainers. They were definitely going to jump on and support to make surfboards and to throw in a bit of money. Fishbowl, which is like a fast food, like healthy fish chain here, they're actually friends of ours from when we grew up, and they've just since become this massive, they're kind of killing it, and they just said, we definitely want to sponsor this. So they actually threw us a bunch of cash as well. And all they wanted in return was to give a whole bunch of free fish bowls at the premieres, which it's kind of the dream sponsor. They just said, here's money to do the project, and we want kind of control of all the premieres and all the screenings. We're just going to give free product to everyone, which it was awesome. They're such good guys, and yeah, hopefully we can get on their program in the future. And then apart from that, we had Red Digital Cinema and Canon, which is 2 camera companies that gave us camera gear. Project Blank was the wetsuit company. We pitched the kind of tier A to them, and it was a huge deal, as I was saying, for them, but they jumped on board, and yeah, they were basically the headline sponsor of the whole project. I think we had eight brands or so that all threw in various amounts of money, and a few brands we approached said they couldn't support it for various different reasons. I think we had about 80% of the project funded, and then myself and Luke Nella, who was the producer, funded the rest.
Yeah. Okay.
Just out of pocket.
And it sounds like you guys were, really trying to build the best case scenario, but you weren't always sure of like, is the weather going to turn out good? Are we going to fully be able to pull this off? And you're trusting these guys you met on Instagram.
Yeah.
which is my favorite part of the film. Now, you called your pitch deck like kind of a world building exercise. So to pull all of this together, to get the sponsors, to get the vision out there, like what exactly did you need to do to build the world? And then how much of this vision did you have planned out before you actually set off on the trip?
Yeah. For the vision, we had so many dream shots and dream scenarios and dream scripts and stuff that we were like, this is best case scenario. These are the best shots you could possibly get on a surf trip. Just running to the helicopter, top of volcanoes. We kind of schemed the perfect plan of how to make this as epic as we could. And I reckon we probably captured 25% of what we had in mind.
Yeah.
I think just these projects, so much shit doesn't go your way. And then sometimes stuff goes your way, and then you kind of just get smacked back to reality. So I think it's great to have like a wish list and a plan, and we had mood boards and shot lists and bunch of different interviews that we wanted to capture. And yeah, I think just the way that these trips go, we couldn't get it all. And we tried so hard and kept hustling, but yeah, there's so much stuff that we unfortunately had to push to the side. But yeah, I think there was so much planning and preparation. We just got as organized as we could, like from a creative perspective and from just like getting our camera gear sorted, getting wetsuits, surfboards, everything else like that. I think you could just try as hard as you can to have it all dialed, but yeah, stuff's definitely not going to go your way.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you had putting the film together?
I think access, definitely, to that coastline. I think we touched on it earlier, but there's no roads in winter. Everything's covered in like meters of snow. So helicopter access or snowmobile access are kind of the two only ways to.
And you can't always fly either because
and the flying was like really, really expensive. So it was about $10,000 for a flight to get to the beach. So we had to really make sure we knew the waves are going to be good. We're absolutely blowing the budget. Make sure when the helicopter picks us up, we're going to have surfboards, camera gear, tents, cooking gear, everything to last us like a week maybe. And it's going to drop us to the beach and leave us there for the week, and we'd kind of fend for ourselves. But we had to make sure that the swell and the weather and the wind is going to be good, because that was like a huge chunk of the budget just to get to the surf on a surf trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely did a trip or maybe two that we kind of fucked up and didn't really get any good waves, and just there was some tough times. It sound like we're flying in helicopters and it was awesome, but also like when you get there and then the waves are flat or it's windy or there's no waves where you thought there was waves. I think we had some tough conversations between us, and also our producer back at home was kind of managing the budget, and we had to keep calling him, be like, we just kind of spent all the money and didn't get anything. So yeah, access was tough, but it kind of made for the story. I think it made for the journey and the mission. And I don't know, helicopters are pretty cool. It's pretty fun flying in those things. Like they're these huge ex-military. They're called Mi-8, and I think they probably fit 20 people in them. Like at one point we had like a boat and a snowmobile, and there's these huge. They have flames when they start up, come out of them. Like it's like Mad Max helicopter spec. So yeah, pretty cool to use them, but yeah, definitely accessing the coastline and just how harsh and cold and miserable it was up there in winter. Yeah, to filming and operating and surfing and making a project in environments that cold and gnarly. It's yeah, it's definitely, it probably looks easier on camera, but yeah, it's pretty hard when we were actually up there doing it.
Yeah, and I think one of the craziest things that happened was just on the trip there, as you guys were in Abu Dhabi, I think you were.
Abu Dhabi, yeah.
And then as you're on your way or getting ready to go to Moscow, Russia had just invaded Ukraine at this very moment, like 5 hours before you landed, I think, is
Yeah.
when it happened. What was going through your head? You're sitting at Abu Dhabi. You've raised $200,000 in sponsors. You've put your own money into this project. You've planned this trip for 2 years.
Yeah.
And of all moments, you've timed it right down to that particular event. What exactly was going through your head when you were sitting at the airport?
Far out. Yeah. I think what I was saying before, there was so many moments of like the universe being like, you need to do this project, and we're getting wins and we were getting visas and we were getting sponsors and money, and everything was kind of going our way. And that was the one moment where it was just like, stop, like really stop and think. Like, so basically everything was happening. We got on the flight in Sydney, we were flying to Abu Dhabi. And while we were flying on that flight was the same day that Russia invaded Ukraine. And we were flying into Russia to start our project. So totally just unfortunate timing, and yeah, couldn't have foreseen it. It was just crazy, weird coincidence. But yeah, basically landed in Abu Dhabi. We went to like a little food court. I think it was like 2:00 in the morning. Potentially, I could be wrong there, but we went to a food court and all the kind of screens in the food court just kind of changed to CNN, and it was Russia invaded Ukraine. It was huge. We were kind of getting calls from all of our family because they'd obviously seen the news in Australia, because it was a massive event. It was like a huge worldwide event, and we were kind of getting calls, but the internet in the airport was really bad and we couldn't like answer the calls. We could only text. So it was like a bit of back and forth. And I don't know, my girlfriend and I spoke to my parents and my girlfriend, they kind of just said, oh, just do whatever you think, like just kind of go for it. But
Yeah.
but Fraser, one of the surfers that came with us, his parents were just like, do not fucking get on that flight. Like you just do not even think about it. Do not do it. So that was like, it was super tough because we had a 2-hour layover, and basically, yeah, we had to decide if we were going to go or just scrap it and come back. And we spoke to Luke, who was the producer back home, and he kind of just said, no pressure, just if you want to scrap it, it's all good. We'll make it work. We'll give the money back. We might try and do the project another time. But yeah, we kind of just put our heads together and we were just like, what's the worst that can happen? Like we get sent home or maybe get locked up, I don't know, or just get stuck in a war zone if it really does kind of pop off. But yeah, we were just kind of thinking, we kind of convinced Fraser, not convinced him, he kind of convinced himself he wants to try. And then we all just said, hey, let's just get on the plane from Abu Dhabi to Moscow and just like take it one step at a time. Like once we're there, I think we'll be okay, but we just kind of got to get there and just reassess the situation. So yeah, basically just said, let's do it. Let's go get on the plane. And we got on the plane, and yeah, then another kind of stitch up begun.
I don't know what's more concerning, if it's your girlfriend and your parents saying don't worry about it, or if it's like,
They wanted me to
or
go
if it's
on.
like we could be in a potentially life-threatening situation. What was going through your head? Was there any moment of like, wow, maybe we shouldn't do this? Did you have any doubt?
I didn't. I didn't, like when we were in the airport, we were just like, let's try. And then we went and got on the plane, and basically the plane just wasn't moving. And then it didn't move for 3 hours on the tarmac, just stayed put. And we were kind of talking to the flight attendants, and they were kind of just saying like, hey, we don't have clearance to fly because we got to fly over kind of over Ukraine or over that area, and no flights are allowed to fly at the moment. We're all kind of
So you were
diverted
literally like meant to fly over.
over into Moscow. So they basically were like, we're looking at alternate routes, but they were told that like military planes had been shot down pretty recently, like in that flight zone. So no flights were allowed anywhere near there. So yeah, we were on the plane for 2 or 3 hours, and they gave people the opportunity to get off the plane. They said like, if you want to get off, and people were getting off.
People were getting off the plane.
People got off the plane. Yeah.
Like how many people?
We actually only saw probably a handful, but there was people in business class, I remember, definitely got up and got off the plane. And then, a handful of people definitely got off. Because
Man, talk about pressure, because you're sitting at the food court and you're like, do we do it?
yeah.
Then you get on the flight and then
we're
you're
all
like,
hyped up, like, let's do it. And like, we're in this together. And then we got stopped again. And then they basically said, hey, we found a new kind of route that's going to go kind of over the UAE, I guess, or around. That's where we were basically, and around up into Moscow. And we just kind of were like, let's just lock in. But it was hours. It was probably, I think it was 4 hours from memory. Like we were just sitting on the tarmac, and all the little screens on the plane, you get like the little news update. It was every single news update was Russia has invaded, there's a war. Like it was sensory overload, everything. It was just like, what do you do? But we basically committed, and then we're going, and it was a real kind of, it was almost like an eerie flight. Like we went and spoke to the flight attendants mid-flight, and they were saying like they were really scared. Like they'd flown for 20 years, and they were saying they were actually really scared being on that flight. And then I didn't personally see this, but we were told that we were escorted into Moscow by 2 fighter jets.
no.
Which is pretty radical. I thought that was really cool, but real scary as well. And then we basically just touched down. I remember just touching down in Moscow and just be like, let's go. What else can be thrown at us this day? And then plenty more was thrown at us, but that was the bulk of getting there.
Yeah, the eerie thing for me is like you guys set out on this trip. It's very human. It's very much about like chasing the creative spirit and like doing something good and sharing it with the world. And it just seems like the film potentially took a different direction because of the weight of, I guess, what was happening around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for
Did
sure.
you feel in any way that had dissuaded from your original vision, or had it amplified it in a strange way?
Yeah, in a strange way. Like I would never have wished it to happen, or like, because it's so serious. It's still going on like years later. Like and plenty of people have died, and it's horrible what's happening. But it did definitely weirdly amplify the project to something bigger than a surf film.
I think it gave it contrast, because if you think about it creatively, it was, light and dark. It was this weird thing where you guys are pursuing this passion, this lifelong dream of doing something great together with some friends.
Yeah.
And then, if you just compare it with what was happening, it does give it like this weird, beautiful contrast.
Yeah. And I think like at the end of the day, we just had no affiliation with anything. We just wanted to go surf. We're just a bunch of surfers from Sydney, and I think we just wanted to show like we met Anton, and we met like all our friends up there, and they just had a love and a passion for surfing, and they just like were so happy to share everything that they had and nature, and they just basically opened their doors to us and gave the project everything that we needed.
And the weird thing is, you can see this in the film as well, where you guys go to a local ATM. You'd expect to be able to put your card in and be able to immediately get a cash withdrawal. So like what exactly happened? Because I noticed that they'd frozen your bank account, or you didn't have access to money.
Yeah. This is actually a pretty big story in itself, but you're good at going down these little tangents.
Thanks, man. But take me on the full journey, man. I want to know all the crazy
I'm reliving
details.
this as we go, so it's cool. The war started, and things were getting progressively worse. Like flights were kind of getting cancelled all over the world, and like coming into Russia, and then sanctions were coming in. Like lots of businesses were getting sanctioned. Like heaps of stuff was happening. Like the world was turning against Russia. One of the things that happened is they basically shut down any money. So visas, bank accounts, PayPal, even like cryptocurrencies, like everything got shut out of Russia. And us being in Russia, we had no access to anything, even like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, everything was
Wait, you couldn't? It was like a total media blackout.
total media blackout and
You couldn't go onto social media.
total media blackout and total financial blackout for the whole country. So we could with a VPN, pretty simple little way around, but pretty crazy that they blocked their whole country from social media, probably to see what was going on
That's
in
just
the biggest
crazy
scheme
to
of
think
things.
about. Like, imagine waking up, you can't access
Anything,
anything.
any money or any contact or any socials. It was pretty nuts. All in like one day.
Was that affecting the locals?
Not too much because they could still get their money. Like Russian bank accounts were fine.
Yeah,
But it was
any
more-
MasterCard, Visa, any
Yeah. Any international transfers or international withdrawals, it was all shut off, which was pretty nuts for us. Like the social media thing, you can survive without social media, but not being able to get money in a foreign country is pretty scary. Yeah, we had obviously Max and Anton, so they would always have our backs. Like we weren't going to go hungry, but it was still like, wow, like we need money to do this project, and none of us, being like the four surfers we are, we brought like $100 between us. Like we didn't bring like much cash. Like we just were like, oh, we'll get cash out when we're there. Like we didn't really think about bringing heaps of money. So yeah, we were kind of faced with a bit of a, it's a tough question because nobody knew how to get us money. And like we were asking everybody, how do we get money into Russia? And there was basically, they were really good at making sure that no money was going in or out. So I actually came up with this kind of genius idea that one of our mates at the time was living in Bali, and he had a bunch of Russian friends. And basically, what did I do? So I said to my mate, hey, we can't get any money, but if I transfer you $10,000, can you go to an ATM and withdraw $10,000 in Indonesian rupiah? And then we actually ended up getting one of Anton's Russian mates who was living in Bali and said, can you go meet our mate and he's going to give you $10,000 cash in Indonesian rupiah. So he went and met up so our two mates went and met up in Bali and he basically got the money and then put it into his bank account, and he had a Russian bank account, which he could do into Bali. So he got $10,000 into his Russian bank account. He transferred it to Anton, and then Anton came and got our $10,000 out in Kamchatka.
That's crazy.
So we pretty much just bounced around the world and got the money. And then that was
a cash drop in Bali.
Big cash drop, especially rupiah. That's like 20 billion. It's like
It's like a briefcase of money.
Yeah, but that was like the only way that we thought of doing it, and it worked out. Like I transferred to him. He transferred to got cash. Then he handed over the cash. He transferred to Anton. Anton got the cash for us.
Were you nervous at all? Like these complete strangers are doing a cash drop in Bali for you guys.
We had no chance, no choice. It was basically do that or stop all kind of all activities and the project. So yeah, we just kind of
Dude, how did you even like figure this out? Like, were you chatting to Anton and then chatting to your friend and going, hey, like,
I think because it was a big deal for especially any Russian international travelers. They were really stuffed because they couldn't access a lot of their money from inside Russia, and then there was a lot of talk about how to move money around, and we just kind of were chatting, and we figured that was the easiest way just to bounce the money around, and Bali was the little safe haven in the middle.
Bali, man. And,
yeah,
and shout out to the guy who did the drop for you guys.
Yeah, thankfully he didn't just run. Yeah,
it's a lot of money. And then talk me through, like, I guess, like what was the logistics and the planning like for, trying to figure out like the helicopter and where to land it and how to like how do you even plan for something like that? Because it's not like you'd done that before.
Yeah, so we thankfully had Max, who owned the heliboarding lodge and had that kind of skiing operation up there, and he is just like a logistical weapon. Like he's like military spec, how good he is at organizing everything from like how much food to bring on a day's surf mission to then where the helicopter can fly to, how much weight we can put in the helicopter. So yeah, having him on board was incredible because we would come up with these like radical ideas. We'd just be like, all right, we want to fly to we'd like look at a map and be like, we want to fly to this bay on next Tuesday when the swell and the wind is going to be good. And he would just get on the phone to the pilots and be like, have a helicopter here. We'll load it up. We'll fly there, drop them off. We need, boat, snowmobile, camping gear, everything in the helicopter. And he just made shit happen. No matter what we asked of him, he just basically made it all happen for us.
Yeah, I would have just felt like Patrick Swayze out of Point Break at that moment. Like I'm just calling in a chopper when I want it.
Nah, he was incredible. He really like. There's no way that any of us could have done what he did, and like we would just throw the most radical ideas at him, and there was nothing that was ever too hard. He would just have a little think, and he'd just be like, "Leave it with me," and he would just make everything happen. Like, the whole project was thanks to him. Basically, all the logistics, all the planning. He gave us guides that came with us. Like sometimes I think one of the days we did like a trip to the beach past these volcanoes in the movie, and we're on these snowmobiles and far out. If we didn't have professional mountaineer guides, well, for sure, I reckon we all would have died.
We couldn't even see like 12 feet because I remember in the film, like you're flying over these volcanoes. It looks like you're in a set of Jurassic Park or something.
Yeah.
And then you're in this lodge. It's freezing. It's snowed under, and you're basically traversing with what looks like a blizzard. You can't even see 12 feet in front of you guys.
Yeah. And then the day before was sunny, and there was like vertical 30, 40 meter drops like as we were driving. So then the next day when it was a blizzard and you're driving snowmobiles, you're just thinking we could just like fall off a cliff here. Like it was, but thankfully those guys, like Fraser had never seen snow before this trip. And then we're driving these huge snowmobiles through like pretty treacherous, freezing cold conditions. So there's so many things on that trip that we never would have, like, we'd never experienced before, and we might not experience again. But it was so cool to see it. And then none of us got too hurt or didn't die.
And there's this really majestic scene where like the camera's kind of panning across the top of the sand. It looks like it's a really low shot looking up, and there's like a sunrise, and then there's just giant sheets of ice. You guys are just like weaving between them in your wetsuits and heading out into hitting up some waves.
Yeah,
like it. The film is super cinematic, dude. Like, I got to give it to you. Like, what you've captured in that footage is exceptional. Like, the whole time I was watching it, I was getting goosebumps.
Oh, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
When you're thinking about, like, preparing for a film like that, like, how much equipment did you have? What was the preparation behind the logistics and, you know, the SD cards and the storage? Like, you're in these, like, harsh conditions. Like, how do you make sure you're not going to lose footage? How do you make sure that you're prepared for all those shots?
Yeah. So for gear and tech and everything else like that, we had to be pretty prepared. Just definitely going somewhere that remote, you're definitely not going to be able to buy hard drives or backup camera gear or even SD cards in Kamchatka. It's a pretty wild and remote place. So everything that we need for the project and the trip, we definitely had to bring with us. I think clothing and like outerwear was a pretty big one as well. Like some days were so freezing, like -20, maybe -30 kind of thing, like dangerously cold. So we needed world-class outerwear and snow gear and ski gear. Helly Hansen was one of the sponsors for the trip. So they just decked us out in the most, like, the best kind of outdoor gear you could possibly imagine. And probably saved our life almost. Like there was some times where if we didn't have all the gear that we had, would have been very dangerous. Outer gear, and then wetsuits. We had custom made 6mm wetsuits from Project Blank, the headline sponsor. They were like super thick, just epic wetsuits for the cold water. We definitely needed them. We were testing them in ice baths, and then if stuff wasn't too right, we would be able to send them back, and they'd send them back and we'd get like samples, and then we'd try them out, and we'd be like, oh, the seams are a bit not so right, and then they'd go back to their warehouse and they'd remake them. And we did a few little tests of the wetsuits and testing them in little ice baths to make sure that they held up in the cold. And then camera gear, just every bit of camera gear that we need. I had the red cameras, lenses, 3-4 drones, underwater housings, gimbals, tripods. I just kind of had a bit of a list in my head of every shot that I wanted to get and the camera gear that I needed to get those specific shots. And yeah, I think we brought over like 150 kilos of camera gear, but yeah, everything served a purpose. And yeah, I'm pretty particular with not bringing too much, but also bringing absolutely everything that I need and not compromising. So yeah, that's what I did.
And I know you said you didn't have a lot of equipment, but you had hundreds of kilos of professional equipment. Did you ever feel like you had the opportunity or the potential to have like conflict with the local authorities with trying to bring so much technology into the country?
Yeah, it was definitely a big fear, especially because we were coming in at a time where Russia really didn't want anything documented inside Russia. Canceling social media, like the censorship. There was just it was a very sensitive time, especially for media coming into Russia. And we were coming in with like all these cameras and drones and yeah, definitely kind of didn't look great. We had a thing called a carnet, which is like more for immigration and customs, but it basically says that we are bringing all this gear legally into Russia. We're not going to sell it. And then you get it signed and stamped by like official authority. And then when you come back to leave, you have to go back and get it kind of signed out. And they need to check over everything to make sure you didn't offload any gear.
Okay, so it's not like a traditional airport where you're just loading baggage and it gets scanned.
Yeah.
You're talking about people actually going through each
Yeah.
item and checking it.
Yeah, which is actually like, it was scary at the time, but it was actually a lot better just giving them everything and just saying, yeah, just kind of nothing hidden and just saying, this is what we're doing. And they kind of asked what we were filming and we said, we're going to Kamchatka. And a lot of the time they're like, oh, Kamchatka, like, because it's so far away. It's just this distant land that they all had never really been to, but they all know about. So yeah, I think whenever I travel to a lot of different parts of the world, I do bring the same form. It's called a carnet, and it basically it's a bit of a get out of jail free card with bringing heaps of camera gear into a country, because most of the time they want money or they want to know like what you're filming and why you're doing it. But if you have that document, Australian government signs it, Russian government signs it. Then when you leave, Russian government signs it out. And then when you land back in Australia, Australian government signs it out. It's basically just like how you travel around the world with lots of camera gear. So yeah, that was super helpful. But yeah, it didn't really, it wasn't a foolproof kind of. It just basically let us get the gear into the country. And then once we were there, we just had to tread lightly. We just set what I was saying when we were kind of cruising around the city or anywhere too public, we definitely didn't have cameras out and we weren't filming each other being larrikins or having a laugh. We'd just be kind of, I don't know, keep a low profile, keep our heads down, just do our thing. And then once we were out on the coastline or in the mountains, we would run wild and film whatever we want.
Do you think all these events had an impact on the creative direction of what you did with the film?
I think for sure, like, yeah, we never planned for any of this. Like I was telling you, we planned and prepared for so much stuff. Like we were like scheming and storyboarding and prepping everything, but we never planned for getting stuck in airports and getting detained and getting stuck on flights. Like, so it all just kind of came as it goes, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they added to the story. A lot of the stuff I personally didn't really want to put a lot of the stuff in, to be honest, at the start. And then I was working with our editor. His name's Lucas Vasquez. He's an incredible doco editor. And he kind of was just like, this is the story. He's like, you can just go straight to Kamchatka and go surfing. But he's like, got to tell the journey and tell the story. And like, the more he kind of built it out and he edited the scenes together, I was like, oh, this is actually like really cool, like recount of everything that happened. And also it's kind of like, it's so time stamped for that day. Like that day's will go down in history as like the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. And it was the same day that we started our project. So yeah, I think it has such a powerful place in the film. It wasn't planned and it's so unfortunate that it happened, but yeah, we just decided to document every step and it made its way into the movie.
how did this entire experience shape the way you see yourself as a documentarian?
Yeah, I think we just, yeah, I think back to what I was saying before, just film everything and like film through the highs and film through the lows and film when you shouldn't be filming and yeah, just document absolutely everything because that's the doco element of this film. Like there's so many pretty pictures and like cinematic moments and that's not so much like the doco world. The doco world, like half of it, like the doco stuff is shot on an iPhone and a GoPro and we had a little Canon 5D. Like we were shooting on $50,000 red cameras and then some of the most impactful scenes in the whole movie are shot on a phone or on a GoPro. So I don't know. I think it was just film everything. It doesn't matter what you're filming on, just like make sure you get the content and like, yeah, document it properly. Yeah, something that I definitely learnt a lot of on this trip is just having cameras everywhere. I gave all the boys GoPros, like even the surfers, just to said, film whatever you think's cool. Yeah, everyone helped out, everyone pitched in, and yeah, it was a good way to do it.
And then looking back at this whole experience, like what did this experience teach you about your limits and the limits of the people around you?
Yeah, we've definitely pushed them further than we probably all thought for sure. Yeah, we all did heaps of stuff on this trip that pushed our limits. Like, I don't know, physically for sure. There was some days where we were working really hard, getting freezing cold. The boys were surfing gnarly waves in the water. We were swimming with cameras. A lot of the ski touring and like the hiking in the snow was actually like such a mission with camera gear. Yeah, mentally pushing ourselves, just having all the shit going on, all the sanctions, not getting money, people at home telling us to come home. Like that was definitely pretty massive mental toll on everyone. And just kind of how just so much stuff going on and also trying to focus on making the film while everything is going on in the background. It's kind of mentally pushing ourselves. Yeah.
And I guess you've said you've always wanted to do something that people haven't seen before. So if you're focused on originality, why is that component so important to you?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. No one loves a repeat. And I think you just want to kind of, yeah, you want to try to do something new and something like exciting. And yeah, you want to, I don't know, in this day and age, everyone's seen everything. It's so hard to see something unique. Even when you're scrolling social media, you're so desensitized to something that probably is pretty epic. You're like, oh, I've seen that. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, I just saw a video today of someone skiing down Mount Everest and I was kind of like, oh, it's pretty sick, pretty cool. And I was like really sat with it and thought about it. I was like, that is the most radical thing. Like imagine being at the top of the world and having no oxygen and skiing down. But I think I just saw it on my phone and I was like, oh, cool. Like it was, yeah, it's hard to do something that kind of blows people away and something that kind of stops people scrolling almost. Like, yeah, everything's so diluted now. So I think you want to do something original. You want to do something unique, something that people haven't seen, something people haven't done before. Yeah, that's kind of what we're chasing. And then I think the core of like surfing, to be like a pioneer and find a new wave and to surf a new wave that's never been surfed. I think that's pretty awesome because there's thousands and thousands of waves and everyone's discovered everything. And it's really, really hard to find waves in the world now that haven't been kind of surfed. So it was pretty epic to go on that trip and find some waves that no one had ever found. And that's kind of we're kind of the weird pioneers of Kamchatka.
And if you could go back in time and kind of revisit this, would you have changed anything? Saying that you only were able to get 25% of what you imagined, what do you wish you could go back and change?
Not too much looking back. I would. The last surf trip of the film, we went and camped on the beach and we surfed this left-hander wave that we found that was like we were kind of the pioneers and it was like a really good wave, but we didn't really get amazing waves there. And then we obviously in the film we sleep, there's a blizzard and we wake up in the morning and it's kind of a bit of a write-off. I would have loved if the universe gave us pumping amazing waves on that last day.
Because it's right at the end of the film.
As the end, and we kind of like didn't nail it. Like it is an ending to the film where we're like, we didn't score and we didn't like the whole project was a success, but the end of the film we actually got kind of like humbled and like we didn't succeed and it wasn't like we didn't win. Basically nature won and we didn't get good waves and we spent so much money making that last trip happen and like basically we gave it everything and we convinced our producer to free up more money so we could do one more helicopter trip. And it was like, it was going to be the fairy tale ending. Like it was like, we're putting everything onto this and then it just didn't happen. And it was like, I remember flying home. I remember being in the helicopter being like, fuck, like that was heavy. Like we like gave it everything, all our energy. It was the last hurrah. It was going to be like the fairy tale Hollywood ending to the film. Like we get there, pumping waves, the guy's getting stand-up barrels in Russia, just this crazy scene, and it just didn't happen. But I think like, and we just kind of, I remember when we were in the edit, I was like, how the fuck are we going to finish this? Because we kind of just like lost and we like kind of failed in it like weirdly. And then we just swung it to like, it was just the way that it was meant to be. And nature won. Still, it was all about the adventure and friendship, and kind of swung it to a bit more feel good. And it was never like, it was about surfing, but it was never really about like just surfing. And yeah, I think it was a good way to do it. But still stings. That's one that I'm like, far out. That was when I was like, come on, universe, like we've come this far, get us amazing waves, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a total bummer.
Yeah.
But you can tell that you guys were still in this state of like, wow, like we're just so grateful to be here and have had that experience together as a group of friends is pretty endearing.
Yeah.
And you did, I think, in many ways succeed, man. You got tons of awards and tons of attention globally. But before we go into that, I want to understand the editing process, because this is something that isn't an easy thing by any measure. You've got 80 terabytes of data.
Yeah.
How do you give someone context if they've never edited video, like how much data that really is?
Oh, far out. Heaps. So much.
That's a lot of data. Yeah.
Hours and hours and hours and hours. It took me a month just to brush through all the clips.
And that's not watching it end to end.
That's watching everything end to end.
So you watch everything end to end for an entire month?
I watch everything to make like first round selects. So basically how I would edit or how you would edit a docker, you'd have basically put everything on a timeline. So first off, you make things called proxies, which is like low res copies of all the clips so your computer can handle 80 terabytes of footage to play.
Okay.
So we basically make like for example, a 4 gigabyte clip becomes like a 40 meg clip.
Right. So you're just watching low res
of
the entire
timeline.
Like front to end.
Would have been 100 hours more. There was so much. And it took me a month just to get through just the selects, just to watch it and be like, that's like awesome. That's like a really good piece of camera. That's like a good soundbite. And then I went through all of that. That was kind of my first job. And then I went to our editor, Lucas Vasquez, and he's such a gun. And he basically took over from there. And then I would just sit with him it was kind of like 8 months of editing. It was a long time. I think about 8 months. And
Jesus, man, that's a long time.
It was a long time. Yeah. He would have done
constant editing for 9 months.
But also, because this project, because it was like, we didn't have crazy budgets, and he's like a real sought after commercial editor. So he's charging top dollar. So I just kind of said, we definitely don't want to compromise on any of his commercial work. So it was kind of the deal was whenever he was quiet, whenever he had days free, he would jump on our project for like a super generous mates rate. And then same with me and Guy and Luke, our producer, whenever we had commercial work, it was just, this project was just put to the side. And we'd go away. I think I had like a few weeks, like that year was pretty busy with work as well, a heap of travel. So I just make sure I paid the bills, went and still kept working. And And then whenever I had like a week free or a few days free, or Lucas had a day's free, then they would edit the project. But it actually worked really well like that, because we could smash out like a week, and then everyone could go away and review and like see what we just edited and have some thoughts and have some conversations. And then we'd all come back into the edit suite and be like, all right, and just hit the ground running again.
Spencer, the edit took 8 months, and you said that some days felt like you were sitting there and smashing it, whereas other days you just felt like you were completely overwhelmed. What was the key to staying motivated through that long psychological grind?
Far out. Yeah, there was like weeks where I was like, this is going nowhere. And then we'd have days where like a whole scene would come together in a day, and we'd have like these crazy breakthroughs. Like, I don't know, if you're doing any big creative projects, I think sometimes you're in flow and stuff's working, and other times you're just like kind of just a bit stuck. I think a lot of people can relate to that with like a lot of things, with like, I don't know, doing something creative or work or pursuing something. But yeah, definitely had some good days, had some bad weeks. I think it was so awesome when you did hit those little milestones and those scenes get tied together, or you find that perfect shot that tells the story, or the perfect bit of dialogue that kind of transition between a scene, how to introduce a character. There's so many different little things. But yeah, I think we just had to keep motivated. We just had to kind of keep just thinking the bigger picture. I don't know, just kind of going back to the start and looking at what we'd already made and being like, oh, this is actually pretty cool what's coming together. Keep going, keep pushing, don't give up. And I think like, I don't know, we'd been through so much, and it'd been like 2 years of planning and then 2 months over there. And like by this stage, there was no kind of giving up. It was just like, just get it done kind of thing. Like we were never going to just stop and not make a film, because we'd done 80-90% of the work up until then. We just needed to finish the edit basically, which was a huge task. But yeah, I think just we kept each other motivated. We just kept watching what we filmed, and we just saw like, yeah, it's a pretty awesome project. And
so that first month where you were watching all the footage and you were watching it in low res, which would have been painful, I imagine.
Yeah.
And you're selecting moments that you thought were interesting or significant? Like what exactly were you looking for in that first month?
Yeah, so the way that I do it is had everything on a timeline, and anything that was like A grade, B grade, C grade clip, just basically anything that wasn't total junk, I would pull up and basically like make a new timeline with the selects.
You were taking like the best pieces,
yeah,
like the
best,
greatest hits, and then
pretty much I'd take everything but the bottom 20%, I reckon. And then even when we got to the further stages of the edit, I would come back to all the rushes and find little moments in the scraps that actually made the final edit, because they helped tell the story. Or
So you'd go back to the scraps even after
I'd go back to the scraps, yeah.
Really?
I did in the end, because we were getting, for some of the stuff, we were getting pretty desperate, and we needed different little scenes and just needed something to tell a story. And at first glance, like I was just like, just another shot of a beach or a snowmobile or something. But then kind of when push came to shove, it really was like the key little moment. It's just the way that it works, I guess, with docos. Like, yeah, you get so far and then you get a bit stuck, and it's all a big puzzle. The whole film is just a huge puzzle, and you're just trying to piece
so you're
it
not
all
working
together.
from the front to the end or from the back to the start. You're just, there's a moment. We don't know where it sits.
So
there's another moment, and you start stitching it back together.
Yeah, and we had like big whiteboards with notes, and then we had notepads where we were writing notes, and Google Docs and Google Sheets and everything, just to kind of craft the story and like craft the different scenes, how they transition to each other. One of my kind of primary roles, apart from directing and overseeing the edit, was doing the surf sections, just because I've done a lot of surf edits. So Lucas, the editor, was the man for just making those doco moments, getting those kind of building out those scenes, making it kind of engaging, and all the interviews, all the talking heads, pieces to camera, just making sure we had the right moments. And then I kind of was doing a lot of the surf scenes on the side. And then we kind of always wanted to like transition from an impactful moment or an intense moment in the film, and then bit of triumph. We found a wave. We got to the beach. We're going surfing, and then play a surf section because at the core it's a surf film. So definitely wanted to have a whole bunch of surfing in it. But yeah, so many different variations of the edit we had to put through, and we'd work for a month, and then we'd have like a 3-hour cut of the whole movie, or like we'd have like a hour cut of like just the intro, just this travel section. And we'd be like, all right, how can we make this hour of us flying from Sydney to Moscow 10 minutes? So we'd all have to be like, cut that, add that, cut. Like I felt the whole time we were compressing and compressing and compressing. Like if I probably had it my way, it would have been like a 3 or 4 hour movie because I didn't want to cut anything. But it was really good having other people in the room, especially like Lucas, the editor, is ruthless, but in the best way possible. And then the producer, Luke, he's the same. He was like, there's nothing in there that doesn't need to be in there. So yeah, it's good having a lot of different opinions. There was some days where we fully clashed. Like I'm not too much of a confrontational person, but there was a few days where we were like, there's not a fucking chance that's getting removed. And then like there was definitely a few arguments, nothing too bad, but like people wanted things in. And then same with the boys coming in and reviewing the surfing. They wanted surf stuff in, but like we didn't want all this, like the whole film to be surfing. So we probably had to cut like double the amount of clips that they would have liked. They definitely wanted more surfing in it. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, everyone's stoked. It was a huge collaboration between a lot of different people, heaps of cooks in the kitchen. But yeah, we're all mates at the end of the day.
That's good, man. I'm glad that everyone's still friends. And it's a lot of work because you're taking 100 hours of footage and you're cutting it all the way down to like an hour and 32 minutes, I think the film is.
Yeah.
When you're in those debates and you're trying to figure out what scenes should stay and what shouldn't, like how did you guys agree on a vision at the end? Like what was the through line that pulled the final edit through?
A lot of it was majority rules, unfortunately. So if you were the odd one out, you just got a bit. And it was, looking back, it was always in the best interest, but there was some things where different people were obsessed with different things. And yeah, I think it was just if it was 3 people in the room and 2 people said cut it and one person wanted it in, they'd have to really fight pretty hard to keep it in, which was tough. Like, yeah, there was some stuff that I also tried to not have the ego of I'm the boss, I'm the director, but I kind of was the boss. But their expertise with editing and producing and everything else is like they know exactly what they're doing as well. So yeah, it was hard work, but yeah, I think it was just it always had to be a conversation and just about why is this in here? Is this benefiting the story? Is it just there because you look good or you think something's good? Or yeah, there was different things. For an example, in the original edit of the film, we went heliboarding and I got dropped at the top of a volcano and snowboarded down the volcano. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Because I don't really snowboard, but I can kind of snowboard. But I was like, it's pretty sick. And then Luke, the producer, is like an ex-professional skier. And he basically just said, there's no way that's going in the movie. Just because we're just a bunch of punters that we kind of know how to snowboard, but we're going down this like radical volcano. And that was like, we were like, no, we need that in. That's so cool. He's like, that's not going in the movie. Just shut it down. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that I was like, that would have been pretty cool to keep in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was more my ego just because I was ripping.
But someone who's like a professional would have been like, come on, man.
Yeah, he's like, come on. Yeah.
How many versions of the film do you think you could have made?
Oh, endless. So many. We had so much footage and so much footage got cut and probably will never see the light of day, I reckon. Yeah, as we said, there was hundreds of hours probably. I don't know the exact length, but we cut so much stuff, and then just all the things from snowboarding. And I was telling the boys before we had a day where we went into like the Kamchatka government building, like the Parliament House basically, and met the governor. And that was a huge scene in the film, and it was us talking and him thanking us for coming to do the project. And we ended up scrapping all of that, which I think just because it was a bit of a sensitive time and we didn't want to be, we were just kind of prancing around the government building. It was a bit yeah, bit of a weird one, but it was an awesome experience to go and meet them. And yeah, we deleted all that. There was so much other surf footage we deleted. There's few, like the snowboarding. Yeah, heaps of stuff got cut. We could have done so many different variations. But yeah, I think what I was saying, like the first proper edit we had was 3 hours long, and we all watched that together. And I was like, wow, that's going to be really hard to cut that down because it was all pretty good. I'd actually love to go back and watch that edit now and just like see what I thought was good. But yeah, basically from that edit, we just trimmed and got it down to like 2 hours, and then trimmed and got it down to hour and a half. And then, yeah, that's the final one.
And then if you take hindsight, and I know hindsight kind of sucks because it's always a bitch to go back and go, I would have done this different. Looking back, how did this post-production experience change the way you'll shoot future projects?
Yeah, I learned so much on this trip, like more than I feel like I did like a university degree with just like planning a project, logistics, just even learning about like snow camping and camping in the wilderness and filming in the cold. And then to editing, I learned so much about the edit process, like from start to finish, doing selects, building scenes, just, yeah. And then even onto like distribution and all that side of things. Like I just learned so much, like a wealth of knowledge and so many people gave me their time to help me learn. And yeah, I'm so thankful for that. Yeah, far out. It was never ending what I learned on this.
Yeah. Now you had the final cut and you're stoked with it. The team's stoked with it. You said that one of your strategies was instead of trying to get on a streaming platform that we would tour kind of the global film festival. What was the strategy behind that? What was the playbook? What were you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so first off, when we were pitching for funding, our goal was to have enough sponsorship funding to pay for the trip and the edit. And then as soon as we had an end product, which was the film and a book, and there was a few other little bits and pieces as well, but basically the film and the book were the two main products, basically, that we didn't owe anyone money from any of the profits that came from those. So as soon as the film started getting any revenue, it's pretty hard to make money out of a film, but like as soon as $1 came in from the film, it was coming back to us, not to paying back someone who we borrowed money off. It's how a lot of people fund films. They get a big loan, so they got like $1 million. Then as soon as they finish the film, every dollar has to go back to paying back whoever they borrowed the money off. So
your objective was to break even,
and
then make the profit.
As soon as we started. So a great way to make money is you can either sell it straight up, or you can tour it and sell tickets in cinemas and then sell it afterwards. So we thought also, because we had a book to sell, a great way to sell a book is to be there at every single screening. We'd have a table and a book, and we would be standing outside saying hi to everyone, chatting, trying to sell Guy's book. So yeah, we did like we would have done hundreds of screenings. We did an Australia tour, kind of all over Australia. Heaps at there's a cinema called the Orpheum in Neutral Bay, which is 700 seats. I think we sold that out like 8 or 10 times or something. Toured it all through US, all through New Zealand, all through Europe. It did a Russia tour, and it's just starting a Japan tour as well. So it's still ticking over, which is pretty amazing. So that's such a good way to build hype, build awareness, sell a product like the book, and yeah, make some money, basically.
How do you even open those doors? Like, how do you get a film to then start touring it?
So we had a distributor, and there was Garage and Madman Films. They're like a collab, and they basically handled that side of things. So they've got every contact for every cinema you could imagine, pretty much worldwide, and they've just got email lists and just say, we've got this awesome new film, we want to put it on. We'll do a Q&A. The boys will come and speak there. It's usually like a 50-50 split. For different cinemas are different, but they take a cut, we get a cut. That's basically how they do it, and then they just book out a tour.
If a young filmmaker had come to you with a product like this and a finished film, but no plan for distribution, what's the first thing that you would get them to do
tomorrow?
I would make sure that they had like endless assets to market it, because
What do you mean by that?
so we had just like so many photos, posters, reels, social media edits, like short edits, trailers, just like endless content to promote what you're trying to sell, because you have to build the hype and build the audience. And yeah, I think that's a great first step. And then I think you'd go and contact, depending on what the film is about, like ours was on surfing. So we just were in contact with every surf media, surf magazine, online publication, and just said, hype this up for us. And they were all so on board. They really love projects like this. So it's a great way to definitely pump our project up. We directed everyone to like our film name, and we had an Instagram and Facebook and everything. That's a good way to do it. And then I would say either distribute it yourself. So get on the phone and call a cinema and say, I've got a film, I want to put it on. They will put on films. They're not kind of exclusive, which is pretty cool. Or for us, it was just like way too big of a beast, the distribution side of things. So we had our distributor, Garage Madman, and they handled everything.
And then what shocked you the most about distribution and touring? Like what surprised you about this experience?
It shouldn't have surprised me because I did it with our first film, but just the amount of money, you spend having a distributor is tough. When you're running your own, when you've absolutely given it your all, and you've just been freezing cold in Russia for 2 months and planned it for 2 years, and to get to this end product, and then to give someone like a pretty good chunk of the pie to help tour it, it's a tough pill to swallow. But the alternative is you do it yourself. And at the time, I actually got really busy with work, and we were touring the film. I went kind of all over the world touring it. Like we went. I did an all of Australia tour. I went to New Zealand. I went to America. I didn't go to Europe, but it toured through Europe. Like it went all over. And then I was balancing a really busy year of commercial work. So there was no way that we could have distributed it on our own. But it was, looking back, it's a big sting giving up that big chunk of cash for what they do.
What are your key lessons as a cinematographer and a documentarian? Like what are those key lessons that you really want to share from this experience? If someone else is looking at getting into film and they're looking back at you and they're saying, hey man, like before I go do this crazy thing, like what are the top things I should be thinking about?
So much. Hopefully I've shared some wisdom in this.
You have, yeah.
Planning and preparation is so key, but most of it's not going to go to plan. However much you plan, prepare, storyboard, shot list, everything, you just be aware that stuff's not going to work out, and that's totally fine. I think film everything. I was saying before, just like if you're going to do a project like this, do not see a good moment go by without a camera. You have to have a camera on every single thing. The highs, the lows, the struggle, the success, cinematic moments, travel, doco, everything. You just need to film absolutely everything. Stay motivated to just keep shooting, even when it's hard, cold, miserable, wherever you are. You just got to kind of, keep the ball rolling, and just keep hustling. And then just the power of collaboration. Just you need to get so many people on board to help you. You can't be a hero and do it all on your own. Like we've had so many people from start to finish to jump on board and help with this project. And it's like, collaboration is so powerful. Just having multiple people on board to help bring one dream to life.
And with all that being said, I want you to be selfish here for a moment. Like what do you get from all of this?
What do I get from all of this? I get a lot of things. Being selfish, I get my name on this project. I get to be like the director of this project, which I think is definitely pretty cool. I get to, being kind of less selfish, I get to make this adventure and this feel-good story and share it with the world, which I think's pretty special. I think a lot of people kind of really really loved this story, and took what they wanted from it. Took a lot of different things from it, I'm sure. Bit of street cred goes a little way. Gets me kind of more commercial work, and also definitely helps us pitch. Now that we've done a project like this, we can move forward and pitch for something bigger and better, which I think is pretty powerful as well.
When you think about the marketing side of this, like take me into like the tactics, like what are the conversations that you're having behind closed doors? Are you trying to get reviews? Are you trying to get awards? Like what is that strategy?
I think it's a bit of everything. I guess reviews weren't too much for us because all the hype we needed for the theatrical tour and like the cinema tour. So I think it was just contacting anybody that had a voice or a platform or that an audience that could help promote our product or help promote the film and also help promote the tour, because we'd like have a list of 20 tour stops and say it would be, let's just say Manly and Sydney, Australia, and we'd just contact like the local surf club, the local surf shop, anyone that kind of is like a community of that area, and we'd just ask them if they would help promote us, see if they want to come to the show. We'd give them some free tickets, and they would help market our film to their community.
Really? So you were like, okay, let's put a pin on the map. What's around that inside the surf community, shops, surf life-saving clubs, etc.
Yeah.
Let's get the local community invested, pull them together, then they'll bring other people with them, and then we'll get more attention on the film.
Yeah. I think that's the best. It's a pretty powerful way to do it. I think you can spend all the money in the world on Facebook ads and targeted ads, but I think if, I don't know, my surf club in Avalon, if they kind of promote and say, hey, there's this awesome surf film playing, come to this event, you trust them and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to this event. Like, I don't know, it's just like word of mouth is pretty powerful, I think. And if you can get bit of talk in the communities happening, it's a pretty good way to do it.
And then once the film's out there in the world, people project their own meaning on top of the film, like you said, good or bad. Do you still feel ownership over its interpretation, or does it belong to the audience now?
I think it belongs to everyone and anyone, and however they want to interpret it, I'm happy. I'm sure people took whatever they wanted out of it. We tried to kind of create it and craft it so people would view it in a certain way, but I think people might watch it and hate it. People might watch it and love it way more than we wanted them to or expected them to. I think it's just different people, different experiences. Yeah.
And everything that you've created is fantastic. I think when you do a project at scale like this, it does leave like a shadow over like, well, what's next? Having done a project like this and had so much success and all these awards and all of this attention, has this left you hungrier for the next big project, or has it left you with a sense of trepidation around, we're going to be careful when we do something like this again?
It's definitely a bit of a mix. I think the biggest, so disclosure, we are planning something big. I think we've touched on a few times, but we're planning a new project. Hopefully, if all goes to plan, next April, we'll be jetting off to do it. We're in the process of pitching brands for funding, which is going okay. Yeah. Similar to last time, a few no's, few yeses, few no replies to the emails. But yeah, I think the hardest thing is not doing a repeat, not doing something too similar. And also probably the biggest thing we've been struggling with is how do we make something equally as epic or better? Because the last project was pretty cool. And how do we one up that, which has been probably the hardest thing to wrap our heads around.
What's been the hardest challenge about setting up the next project?
Getting everyone motivated again has been actually really hard.
Really?
Yeah, really hard. It's been way harder than I probably thought. I've definitely been a bit of a one-man band for a lot of it. Everyone's so busy as well. Like I've been traveling the last few months. Guy is in Europe on a job right now. Luke's in America on a job. So everyone's like lives are pretty chaotic, and like we've all had a pretty busy year in the kind of commercial world. But yeah, it's getting there. Like it's just hard to get everyone in a room and or even anyone to answer a phone call sometimes because everyone's so flat out. But yeah, it's slowly getting there. I think we got until the end of the year. It's the cutoff if we're gonna commit or not. So we've got 2 more months to get this project off the ground. So we'll know by the end of the year if it's happening or not.
And after the first experience, why do you think it's been so difficult to motivate the team to go for a round 2?
Yeah, I think everyone's just super busy, and the last one just took so much out of everyone. Like it was pretty tolling on just the amount of time that we had to spend on it, and then being away from our partners and our family and friends, and then like we spent a whole year working on it, so we had to definitely a lot of time and energy that we could have been putting towards relationships and family and everything else. We definitely put towards this project, and it did take a bit of a toll on some of the boys. On some of their relationships, but and probably my own as well. You have to ask my girlfriend. I'm sure she will say it did. But yeah, it's a lot. It's hard to do a project like this. You have to put a lot of time and energy. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just so much to take in. Like I got 2 young kids. Every time I travel, even for like half a week, it's just painful.
Yeah.
You have an expectation from your partner to be there, and then all of a sudden you're away. Chasing waves with helicopters in Russia for 2 months. It's pretty wild, man.
Yeah. I don't know how they all put up with us far out. But yeah, we're all still going strong and all the boys' partners. So
no one's divorced.
No, not yet.
If you had to distill I guess one key lesson from Kamchatka and I guess if it was around risk, persistence, the art of filmmaking, what is that key lesson that you really want to drive home here?
One key lesson, I reckon it's just that you're so much more capable than you think. It sounds like a bit philosophical and a bit cheese. You've heard it 1,000 times before, but you don't have to go to Russia to do a surf film. Like every single person is so much more capable of doing such bigger things than what their mind thinks. I think this project for sure, there's no way if I saw into the future and saw this project, I would be like, there is no way that I could have done that if I saw that 5 years before we started doing the project. So yeah, I think you just got to back yourself to back you can do cool things and yeah, just keep pushing until it's done.
And I just love how much creativity there is here because it just sounds like there's a lot of spontaneity, a lot of opportunity, a lot of problems of mayhem and chaos, and you've just found a way to kind of really pull it together. And I think that's the whole notion around filmmaking and creative is it's part feeling, it's part planning, it's a part of discovering as you're doing something.
Yeah.
You strike me as someone who's really obsessed with taking tremendous levels of activity to make something happen. The entire reason we put this show together is because we wanted to interview people that were taking massive agency toward whatever their passion was and how they see things. What does taking agency mean to you?
Taking agency, just taking risk, taking accountability, just going for it. I reckon, just chasing a dream. Yeah, just having something bigger than what you can pull off or what you think you can pull off, and just hustling and getting the right people on board and trying again and failing and trying once more and chasing that dream and trying to get to it.
I know that makes sense, but for someone like yourself, what drives you? Why are you like this?
I don't know. I don't actually see myself of being that driven, but then people always said why do you do so much? I don't know. I think I'm just I don't know. I'm always keen to push myself creatively. Love surfing. I surf every day. Love trying to be healthy. Yeah, I don't know.
Where do you think that creativity or that drive or ambition to try to do stuff like this, where do you think that comes from?
I think I just I don't know. I think I just love chasing something. I love always working towards something. I hate sitting still. My girlfriend hates it because I can't just clock off. It's actually probably a bit of a problem, but I'm always have to be doing something. I'm always planning something, organizing something, getting ready for a job, a shoot, a project. I'm never just still. I probably should learn to be still, but at the moment I'm just 100 miles an hour, and I just love love having my hands full and doing stuff.
Hell yeah, dude. Can we know anything about the future and what you have planned?
What do I
If you
have
give us a little
planned?
teaser here.
Yeah, it's in somewhere also equally as cold, equally as wild. More boat, less helicopter,
Okay.
and we're gonna go bigger and better than the last one. Is
Yeah.
the plan? Hopefully.
Yeah. Spencer, I'm awestruck by what you've been able to create. It's been a fun experience to watch the film. It's been really fun talking to you. The team here love you because they've been a part of your workshops and your programs. But yeah, genuinely, man, just like super fun to sit down and talk about what you guys created. Very excited for the future and to see what you guys do next. I don't know how you're going to top the last film, but I eagerly anticipate, joining one of the cinema reels and sitting down and experiencing it with other people as well. That's going to be fun.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's been a fun day. It's been fun sharing the stories and reliving some of them.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you being here.